Hi, this is Brett Ingram, award-winning entrepreneur, and today I want to share with you 15 ways entrepreneurs can increase their energy and motivation. So energy level and motivation are vital to success for entrepreneurs, obviously. We have to be able to constantly work at a really high level, and we need to be able to maintain that, and that's not always easy. I mean, sometimes it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of motivation. So particularly in times of struggle, particularly when results aren't going exactly the way that we wish they were, or we're disappointed about something, or even in times of personal issues. Maybe everything from a business perspective is going fine, but we have some things going on in our personal lives that cause us to be distracted or depressed or sad or frustrated or angry or whatever. And despite all of that, we don't have the luxury of having a bad day or having a day where we just don't really feel like working. We have to be able to get up, we have to be able to keep moving, and we have to be able to press on no matter what. And all of those things are going to affect us because we're human beings. Any human being is going to have ups and downs. We're going to have days where we're motivated naturally and everything comes easy and everything goes really well. And we're going to have days where we struggle and we really need to push ourselves to make it go through. So I think it's really important to be able to have some strategies in order to be able to keep making us go strong, because the fact is there are going to be days where that's really hard. There are going to be days where that's a big challenge. And as business leaders, we need to be able to find a way to push through that and keep going, because ultimately that's often the difference between success and failure as an entrepreneur. So the question becomes, if we're in that situation, how do we do it? I mean, anybody on a good day has no trouble being motivated. No matter what we do, no matter who we are, if things are going really well, it's easy to get up. It's easy to go to work. It's easy to put in time, feel good about it, and be excited about it. But if it feels as though everything else is going wrong, the world's crashing around us or whatever, how can we sort of compartmentalize and how can we focus in terms of getting our mind in a place where we need it to be the most successful and effective that we can? Because otherwise what happens is it becomes a downward spiral. We're in a bad place, so we don't really do a lot. And because we don't do a lot, that sets us up for a poor tomorrow. And that's a really rough place to be. We always want to be setting ourselves up for a better day tomorrow than what we had today. And the way we're going to do that is by having an effective day. So let's talk about 15 effective ways to increase energy and motivation, because these are all vital. And any or all of them can work. It depends on you, it depends on your situation, and it depends on the day. Sometimes one might work better for you than others. Some you might not like at all, some you might love. And you can mix and match, use them whenever you need. But the fact is, it allows us that opportunity to find a way to get focused and do what we need to do. So the first is regular exercise. It seems totally unrelated to business. It seems totally unrelated to entrepreneurship. And in some ways it is. However, our physical body is connected to the rest of our body. So when we engage in physical activity regularly, and that could be anything from a really strenuous gym workout, or it could be, yoga, or maybe just taking a brisk walk, particularly through nature or a park. When we do those kinds of things, what happens is our exercise boosts our endorphins. And when that happens, it naturally reduces our stress, and it naturally increases our energy levels. Now, initially when we start this, it may actually be a challenge because we might be in a situation where we start to do this and initially it actually wears us down. We get tired, we get fatigued because our body isn't used to it. We'll adjust really quickly to this. It doesn't take very long at all to get into a place where naturally we're able to keep going and we have more energy because we've been doing it. So that is one really effective way. Another thing we want to do is prioritize sleep. I know the old saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way because we have so much to do that we never want to be able to take a break or take time off. But it's actually counterintuitive but it is counterproductive to try to not sleep at all and just work. We have to make sure we're getting enough sleep every single night. So 7 hours as an adult is, usually a good time, but you'll know based on your body. We want to be able to wake up fully recharged. And when we sleep and we get that REM sleep and the deep sleep, what happens is our bodies are able to recover. Our bodies are able to recharge. They cleanse themselves from the day before and get us up ready to go for the next day. Super important to be able to do that. The third thing that we want to do is we want to focus on healthy nutrition. Again, when we're busy, when we're tied up, oftentimes the sort of go-to is grab whatever's fast, grab whatever's easy. Unfortunately, a lot of times those are the worst foods for us. And our body is basically our car, and it can only run as well as the fuel that we put in the engine. So if we put junk in, we're going to probably get junk out. We're going to feel our energy level sapped. We're not going to feel very good, and we're going to need constant external boosts like caffeine and things like that in order to be able to keep going. If we fuel our body with nutritious foods that provide us with sustained energy throughout the day, like whole grains, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and we avoid excess sugar, then ultimately we're going to be in a better situation because our bodies are going to naturally be in a more powerful and energetic state. So that is going to be very important as well. We want to make sure that we're putting the right gas in the engine so we're always in peak performance mode and we're able to do that. The fourth thing that we want to focus on is hydration, because believe it or not, we naturally become dehydrated throughout the day. So it's super important to be able to drink plenty of water throughout the day. We want to drink in the morning, we want to drink in the afternoon and at night. So what I actually do, and I think it's a really great strategy, is just keep a water bottle with ice in it with me at all times. And I just, by habit, drink out of it constantly. So I'm not forcing myself to drink, but at the same time, I'm making sure that I get enough hydration and that it's water, it's really healthy, and it's something that is going to keep us hydrated, because when we're hydrated, we have more energy, we feel better, all of our internal systems work better. And by having it just right there for us to be able to grab, we don't need to think about it or go out of our way or wait until we feel thirsty, in which case we're already dehydrated. By just having it there and with us all the time, we gradually just drink throughout the day, and it makes it so much easier and so much more effective to be able to do that. When we get dehydrated, what happens is we may not even recognize it, but we get fatigued, and our cognitive function decreases also. So if we're drinking at least 8 glasses of water every single day, it sounds like a lot. And to think about, I have to go and I have to get a glass of water, drink the whole thing, I'm not really that thirsty. That's a lot harder way to go about getting our right water intake. Instead, if we just keep a water bottle with us at all times and constantly sip out of it every time, we take a break, or every time we feel thirsty or whatever, it becomes sort of a habit. And then we don't even need to think about water anymore because our hydration is already taken care of for us. The fifth thing that we can do to increase our energy and motivation is to set clear goals. When we start off a day and we don't really know what it is that we want to do, these don't need to be long term. These can be just for the day. When we don't really know what we need to do, we don't really know what we want to get done, we just have sort of a general idea because there's always more work to do than can be done. The problem with that is it's just sort of this amorphous blob of time, and it doesn't really get us spurred to action because we don't have anything with a deadline. Statistics show, science shows that we work better when we have a deadline, when we have a defined purpose and what we need to do. So if we define clear and meaningful goals, obviously we can do this on a long-term and a short-term and a medium-term basis. But even on a daily basis, if we have our list of things that we want to achieve for the day and we know what those are, as we start to work through those and cross them off, we get a sense of accomplishment. That also builds momentum, and it builds energy level, and it builds motivation and enthusiasm. It also makes us feel more powerful and effective. So that's going to be an upward cycle where we're going to be more effective because we feel more effective, and then that continues to build on itself. So having a clear sense of purpose and direction can certainly increase our motivation and our focus, and that's going to be really, really important. The sixth thing that we want to do is we want to celebrate our progress. This is something that as entrepreneurs we are notorious for not doing. We have a lot of things that we want to accomplish, and it feels like the ladder keeps getting taller. Every time we sort of reach a rung and we feel like, okay, this is great, there's always another rung above it that we feel like, okay, well, that's next. And so we don't take time to stop, to reflect, to realize what it is that we've accomplished, and to feel good about that. And that's hard because it's really hard for anybody to continue to work hard at something if they never know how well they're doing and they never know whether or not they're hitting the target. If you have ever held a job or if you have a team in the business that you have, it's important that your team gets feedback, right? We always feel that way as leaders. Like, we want to make sure that our team members know that they're doing a good job. You did an excellent job with that. Well, we need to say that to ourselves as well. When we do something that is noteworthy, when we reach a milestone, when we accomplish something, even if it isn't the top of the mountain, and even if we're still climbing, it's super important to step back and at least celebrate that achievement and milestone, no matter how small it is, because that boosts our own internal morale and it reinforces positive behavior. It also, by the way, sets a great precedent for the way we'll treat other people if right now we are a solopreneur. When we have team members, we want to make sure that we are acknowledging them. We want to make sure that we are rewarding them for good performance and recognizing that. And if we start with ourselves, it makes it a lot easier because it's a natural extension of what we're already doing. But it is a super important part of it because it's what will help keep us motivated and keep going. A seventh thing that we can do is we can find inspiration. So for this, we can surround ourselves with sources of inspiration. Our working environment makes a big, big difference. I remember when I was working sort of out of my bedroom in a closet that I had sort of set up, and I used to call it my cloffice. And I remember when I had sort of clutter, and I had books and I had papers and I had things all over the place, and then I had the distractions of the room also, because behind me there were things and they weren't organized. And I remember just sitting down, and I didn't think of it at the time, but as I reflect, my mind was cluttered because my workspace was cluttered. It was anything but inspirational. In fact, it was the opposite. It was distracting. So at a minimum, we want to have a clear workspace. And again, if we don't have an office, that doesn't matter. I didn't. I had a little, closet office with a little desk that I bought from, Amazon or something, or IKEA for like $100. And I set it up in there. And what I did was, once I recognized that, I cleared the area. So at least when I was working, I had a very clear thought process, and I had nothing cluttering my mind or distracting me. That's step one. We want to at least get to that point if we're working in an area of clutter. But beyond that, we then can put up sources of inspiration. They could be people that we look up to. They could be, a poster or a quote from them. It could be quotes that we love, or books that we love. We can listen to, a podcast. We can attend conferences. We can connect with mentors. Anything that gives us, and anything that is emblematic of that, we want to have in our purview in our workspace. If there's something that motivates us, even if it's a photo of our family, if that's something that motivates us and gets us moving, then we want to have that there. So we have sources of inspiration, and we start to feel really good when we're in that work environment. It's really powerful and it's really important. So, we want to be able to also connect with mentors and like-minded individuals. So if we have a mastermind group or something like that, we can draw inspiration from others, and that will help reignite our motivation and creativity, particularly when we're down. Sometimes it's hard to always have to be the person that gets ourself up, gets ourself going. We have no one else to rely on. It's nice to have other people in our circle where maybe we're having a down day and maybe we just need that little conversation. And once we do that, all of a sudden we start to feel great again. we start to feel like, yeah, we could do this. We're not in this alone. That's really powerful and important. The eighth thing we can do and should do is manage stress. Practicing stress management techniques, whether it's deep breathing, whether it's meditation, whether it's mindfulness, exercise also figures into this to reduce stress levels and maintain mental clarity is super important. And this is scientifically important. This isn't just I don't know if it matters that much if I'm stressed. There's good stress and there's bad stress. If we feel stressed because we have a deadline to meet and that motivates us to get going, that's fine. When we have that stress that feels like the world's on our shoulders and we're going to collapse at any minute, that's debilitating stress. That's negative. That's going to tear us down. What happens in those states is instead of being focused and having acute mental clarity like we do when we have the positive stress, what happens instead is our minds shut down. Our creativity centers shut down. We aren't able to access all of our abilities, and we aren't able to access the full freedom and creativity of our minds. And when that happens, we become in a situation where we may not make the best decisions. We might feel and be operating out of fear. And that is a rough place to be because it's hard to run a business based on fear. So it's super important that we have some way to manage stress, whatever way works best for us. A ninth thing that we need to do is we need to take breaks. We need to actually schedule breaks. This is another one that it seems simple and it seems like something that might not be that important. But in reality, being able to break away from what we're doing, especially if we work intensely, is vitally important to long-term success, health, and longevity. And we want to incorporate regular breaks into our workday so we can prevent burnout and maintain productivity. Again, it seems counterintuitive. It seems as though, well, if I take a break, I'm not working, therefore I'm not getting anything done. But it's actually the opposite that's true. Because when we come back from our break, we're more motivated, we're more focused, and we're ready to go. So these don't need to be long. And, they could be very short breaks. They could even just be sitting in our chairs, shutting our eyes, or listening to our favorite song. But if we take 15 minutes every hour, every couple of hours, and just recharge our energy and focus with a timed, deliberate, planned break, it's a very powerful technique to keep our motivation and energy levels really, really high. So that's something we definitely want to be able to do. A 10th thing we want to do, and this is, fun, makes it a little bit more fun also, is we want to mix up our routine. We may have a monotonous routine where we do the same things in the same order every single day. And that works to some extent because having a schedule and having sort of a structure to what we do is valuable and it makes sense. However, it also can be confining after a time and it can be demotivating. So if we could break out of that monotony by trying new activities, or if we challenge ourselves with different tasks, or we take on something new, or watch something new, or look at something new, that variety can keep things interesting and it can actually stimulate our creativity and our motivation. It'll make us feel better about what we're doing. It'll reinvigorate us, give us a little bit more excitement, and get us ready to rock and roll. So then we can still work in the other things that we need to do, but by shifting the order or changing things around or doing things slightly differently, that can be very powerful as well. An 11th thing that we want to do is we want to visualize success. Visualization is a really powerful tool. World-class athletes have used this for decades. And obviously in the business world, people have realized it applies here too. So it's really valuable and important. When we visualize our goals and envision ourselves having already achieved them, what happens is it reinforces our own motivation. It sort of sets our internal temperature and it tells our body and our mind, hey, this is where we're supposed to be. This is where we're at. We have to get moving. We got to keep this thing rolling. And it does it in a way that's subconscious. So what's great about that is we're not forcing ourselves by trying to, just buckle up and work harder and work harder. Our own body and our own mind are sort of spurring us on subconsciously without us needing to think about it. And that makes it really, really powerful. So visualization can really help reinforce motivation, and it can also help keep us focused on all the objectives that we've got. And it also just paints a clear picture, and it constantly reinforces the reason we want to reach the goal that we have set. Because obviously it's going to be exciting to do that. We're going to feel great when we get there. The 12th thing that we want to do is to create a support system. We want to surround ourselves with a supportive network of friends, family, and colleagues. So we all know people in our lives that if we talk to about anything, sort of come into it like a wet blanket, right? And instantly we feel worse about even talking to them. But we also know people that when we share things with them, we feel uplifted, we feel better, we feel excited and invigorated. Those are the people we want to focus on. Look, family members and people are who they are, and there's no getting rid of our family. So if we have some of those people that are a little bit, pessimistic in our lives, that's fine, but we don't want to share our business goals, and we certainly don't want to talk to them in a situation when we feel as though we need a pick-me-up, not pull me down. And so find that group of friends, family, colleagues even, right, who can offer us encouragement, advice, and accountability, and reach out to them on a regular basis. So not only can we get it from them when we need it, we can offer it. Maybe they're in a situation where they need it sometimes, we're feeling great and they aren't, and we can be that source for them as well, which also makes us feel better about ourselves. A 13th thing that we can do is stay organized by maintaining an organized workspace. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, using productivity tools like calendars, task lists, project management software. What happens is we're able to stay on top of our tasks. We're able to stay on top of our deadlines. We don't let things creep, and we don't miss things that we were supposed to do because we thought we'd remember. Being organized also offloads a lot of mental pressure and stress, because when we're trying to remember it all in our heads, that's taking up some of our brain power. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to use our full capacity for what we need to do. So the best way to do that is to know that if we put this stuff all down and it's organized, we don't need to think about that anymore. We just follow along. The 14th thing we need to do is embrace failure. Look, there are going to be bad days. There are going to be things that are setbacks. There are going to be things that don't work. And we don't want to view those setbacks as failures and start to feel terrible about ourselves, because all that's going to do is, again, become a vicious cycle where then we're less motivated because we feel terrible. We need to instead look at them as opportunities for growth and learning. When we do that, it shifts the script and it makes us resilient in the face of challenge. And what's great about that is we can get excited when we have a challenge, because once we're able to come through that on the other side, we've proved to ourselves that we're resilient, that we can do this and that we can work through it. And that is going to increase our motivation and our determination, not just our resilience also. The 15th thing is we want to find our purpose and make sure we stay connected to that. Oftentimes when we start a business or start an entrepreneurial venture, we've started with a purpose in mind. There's a reason we did it. Oftentimes when we get in the weeds and we start doing what we're doing, we can lose sight of that. It's important to constantly remember back to why our work matters, get a deeper sense of purpose and meaning, and really stay connected to whatever it is that's driving us in the first place to wanting to do that. Understand how our efforts contribute to our own personal values and goals, and also, to what we wanted to set out to accomplish in the first place and why. That will be a powerful source of motivation. So by using any or all of these, maybe at different times under different circumstances, we can boost our energy levels, we can stay motivated as we navigate the challenges and the opportunities of entrepreneurship. Because let's face it, it is a challenge. So the takeaway here is that no matter how intrinsically hardworking or motivated we are, there are times when life needs to remind us that it can be hard and struggles need to be overcome. It's not hard to stay motivated in good times, but we need to have ways to do it even when it feels like things are falling apart or our lives are in turmoil. As hard as it is, the ability to press on often defines the difference between success and failure. Using these 15 hacks can give us the toolkit we need to ensure that we make it.